I think we got things set and ready to go. And I'm Jimbo. Went to, this is a memorial for Bill Rodasky, who we lost a few years ago. I've got some good close friends here. Got Duane on the end, high school. He was a year behind Bill and I. And then Terry Anderson in the Air Force days. And Dan cooked us since he moved to T. And then I was a classmate of Bill's, and we knew each other. We were on the same track team. I was not a motorhead, as you know, and so we knew each other, you know, buddies, but we didn't hang around, kind of deal. But then when he moved to T, his last 12 years here, we got pretty tight because we were at a class reunion and found out he was moving back. And I wanted to hear about his Air Force career in Alaska because I knew he raced snow machines up there and stuff. So that's what we're here to do. We may or may not release this, it just depends. But the main thing is for Bill's family, who I know is hurting. They're all hurting at different levels, and Dora. And I think it's just going to be kind of fun to rehash some stuff and have a good time with this. And fellas, we have no time limit, so we just go as long as we want to, and we'll edit it afterward and all that. So, but yeah. So when did you and Bill start palling around and find the commonalities?
You know, in the neighborhood, when somebody new moves in, you all have to test each other. And I think it was sometime around 76 or 7, I think, when they moved to town, and they were right on the other end of the block from us. And of course, we'd have pickup ball games and stuff all the time in my backyard with a basketball hoop, and nice place to play ball. So we'd play horse or whatever. So we get Bill come over, and Larry Talbot and myself and all the rest of the guys in the neighborhood would start shooting hoops. And after that, we'd have pickup football games. Well, it started out kind of touch. After a while, it was a little more than touch. It was kill the carriers, more like it. But we all had good times. Like I said, they lived on the other end of the block, and we'd find stuff to do, like throw white socks in the air to get bats to swoop down at them. I mean, kids nowadays don't do the things that we used to do, but they're on their cell phones or whatever. But we didn't have those then, and we had to find things to do and try to keep out of trouble. But that vacant lot that was next to their house became the next place besides my backyard that we'd do pickup games, and we'd start by throwing a ball to each other or something. And I think it was Bill that got the bright idea. Hey, that bus comes through town occasionally. He sends me along with the football, and I'm running after it, and he doesn't even come close. And I thought, what the heck, Bill? Boom, that football hits off the side of the bus, and he's laughing. He goes, come on. And he says, make like you're just trying to catch that ball. And I said, well, I was. And then the next thing was a softball. Got to rattle that off the doors of the sides of the luggage rack on the bus. Mm-hmm. Well, that bus driver didn't think too much of that. He was hitting the brakes, and of course we scattered. There was all kinds of stuff like that kids do. And of course that's, you know, we weren't trying to hurt anybody or anything. We had a good time with it. But those types of things. Neighborhood kids get together and figure stuff out.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, me being a beginner with this is the second time out of 6 times where I forgot to hit record, except for in the middle of your story. But these mics are on with this camera, so the first part of the audio will be crappy audio, and then about halfway through your story, it'll sound like this. So, all right. Sorry about that.
Well,
I got to get a big old sign on there. Hit record.
Yeah. Edit in Japanese.
Yeah.
First half of your story in Japanese.
Subtitles, the whole bit.
Yeah.
Well, we both had paper routes. I had I think I had the Sioux City Journal, and then I think late part of grade school or early part of high school, Bill was carrying the broadcaster and was delivering that around. So it was early morning for me, and then of course he'd go late into the evening trying to get them broadcasters run around. But
So there was all kinds of things that we did. And then, of course, when we got to the point where we were older, cars came into the picture, and women, of course, too. And but he enjoyed working on I remember it real well when they moved outside town into the country there, him and his dad built a 67 Mustang fastback. Mm-hmm. And that thing you could have thrown a cat through just about anywhere on it when they got it. But by the time they were done, boy, that thing looked nice. Put gold with black stripes, if I remember right. And we had a lot of good times in that thing. Of course, there was a few that you want to forget as well. They had a dune buggy out there. And, of course, I didn't have a driver's license yet. I was riding a bike back and forth to school, and Bill, he's driving this nice 67 Mustang, and he says, hey, you got to come out and go with this dune buggy. He lived out by the sand dunes area there. And I said, yeah, I think I want to do that. So he goes, well, it's going to take you a while to pedal out there with that bike if you're going to ride yourself back home. And I said, yeah, well, just let me hang on to the handle of your car, the door handle of your car. And pretty soon we're going about 10 mile an hour. And I'm like, that's all right. Step it up a little, Bill. So he steps it up to about 15. He goes, how you doing? I said, I think that'll do. And we got outside of town over the overpass, and we're headed, I suppose we made it about 3 miles by then. I said, well, I think you can pick it up a little bit. Well, he picked it up just a little bit more, and that bike got out from underneath me. Ooh. And I did a skid out on the road. Ow. Of course, he's freaking out, and I'm watching my bike go like this in the fence line, just hoping I'm going to stop. Nice. But, yeah, that's one of those deals where you just go, how dumb could you be? But it was in the thought pattern of, hey, how quick can you get out there and start having a good time on a dune buggy? You weren't thinking about, hey, I suppose we didn't want to put the bike on the car because it scratched the car, you know?
Right.
But, yeah, we had all kinds of stuff like that.
You guys notice the little sound effects that we have every once in a while here?
Busted.
That's why I keep looking down here. Got them. It's on 3 different banks, so you have like 8 different sound effects, but 3 banks. But you can't hit them just right, you know, when you got to move the banks around. But
you would have to go to that busted deal. That just brings up another one of the really good things that we did remember we had to test out at the end of our quarters, so we had semester tests. So we thought it'd be a great idea to find somebody to buy us some beer. And we did. And we decided, we're going to have a few beers. And next thing you know, we're both sitting in the police station.
Oh, no.
And I looked through who's coming through the door, and it's Ken Rodasky. And the next thing I see is Bill's hat fly off the top of his head. And I said, oh, boy, I'm the next one. I said, he's going to do the same thing to me. So I'm sitting there kind of hanging on to my seat. And I thought for sure I was the next one, but he contained himself, and we both ended up getting grabbed by the scruff of our necks and out the door we went.
By mild-mannered Ken.
Yeah. Right? Well, I can't imagine what he was thinking at that time. What the heck you kids think you're doing? I'm trying to work here and provide a living, and you guys are out making me come in here to the cop shop.
Well, Ken, when you see this, you can explain that to us and give us more of the background story.
Oh, well, he was looking out for our best interest in all ways. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a great guy.
But, yeah, we had a lot of good times together, and I appreciated all the comments that I'd bounced something off Bill, and he was always good about giving me his thought on what he was going to do. And I asked him one time, I said, so what do you want to do when you grow up? And he goes, I want to be a highway patrolman. And that was one of the things that I go, well, he didn't become a highway patrolman, but by golly, he won up that, I think. Mm-hmm. And the services that he provided and the things that he did in his life were a blessing to others.
Yeah, there were just so many people that were interested in his opinion, just got help from him when they weren't expecting it, or maybe didn't suspect that he even cared that much. Yeah, great guy.
Yeah. When we were playing, we learned one thing: you never got near his toes. he had a bad hangnail on one toe. And I tell you what, if you stepped on his toe, you got the wrath. But no, he
So
was.
did he still have the toe when you met him?
Yeah,
Terry?
not that I remember.
You didn't get near his toe.
No.
Well, we did a lot of sporting goods. Like I said, we played pickup ball quite a bit and neighborhood football, and we did a lot of stuff. Did a lot of hunting together, and enjoyed that in the hills by Spink. We'd go rabbit hunting up there in the pine trees, and they had a road called Snake Canyon Road. It's where I think it was Snake Canyon Road is what we called it. Anyways, it was just north of Elk Point there, and that 67 Mustang got a workout trying to it got across the old wooden bridge, but we never made it up the hill. We always got about halfway up, and then we'd leave the car there, and then we go hunting, and we come back and spend about 3 hours digging it out, and then backing all the way down the hill and backing across the wood bridge.
Was that come out of Elk Point North about maybe 10 miles, and it angles to the west, and then you go north, and then that
It was off to the east side of that.
I know
Yep.
I know that road.
But yeah, we had a lot of good times that way.
So how old or did you and Bill meet like right straight in the, because he went straight out of high school. Did you go in the Air Force right out of high school too?
Yeah, I did. I met Bill once. I was stationed up at Grand Forks Air Force Base. I was there, I think, maybe 7 months before he transferred in. 'Cause I think Grand Forks was his first base.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yep. And he ended up getting on the same flight as I was in law enforcement. And at the time, he was not a dog handler. He had just got out of tech school, and so it was his first duty station. And while he was there, he volunteered and got selected to be a canine handler. And I didn't know him from Adam. Just happened to be that one of our supervisors said, "Hey, do you know Bill? He's from South Dakota too." I go, "Really?" So I ended up talking with him and found out he was from Elk Point. And I said, "Well, shoot, I'm from Rowena. It's like we're almost neighbors, you know." And it just instantly fell in love with the guy. You know, he was just a great guy and had a lot of good times together. And you know, after we started working together, then we decided that that neither one of us could stand our roommates, so we decided to get some strings tied, and it ended up switching rooms. We got to be roommates together till he PCS'd out, which really helped both of us out.
Mm-hmm. So he loved the Air Force.
Oh, yes.
I wonder if he loved it as much when he was in as when after he was out. I don't know. What do you think on that?
Oh, I'd say probably a little of both. I know that when I was with him, worked with him, he was a canine handler. He was a drug dog, and he absolutely loved being a drug dog handler. You know, stuff that they got to do. He, you know, did barracks checks and the vehicle inspections at the gates. And you know, I went with him since we worked the same flight. I went with him a few times on patrol, you know, doing barracks walkthroughs, and yeah, he really loved being a canine handler. Especially his first dog at Grand Forks was Bear, which was a Chinese Chow, a big fluff of a dog. As long as he wasn't on alert, you could just about do anything to him. But once Bill put him on alert, don't mess with Bear, because he literally would take your arm off.
He had told me, I don't know where he was, but a bunch of dignitaries were there and a red carpet. And I don't know if it was Bear or if it was another dog. I don't know if you know the story, but they're all standing there, attention, things are just about ready to happen. And the dog went over to the red carpet and just laid one down right on the red carpet.
Wow.
I don't remember if he said he quickly reacted to do something or if it was just so close he just had to leave it. I don't remember.
Okay. Sometimes animals are a better judge than people are.
Oh, man. So how many dogs do you think you did have
Oh,
up there?
gosh. Well, in Grand Forks, he just had Bear, and I'm not even sure if he started off with Bear. It's been so long ago now that I know that Bear was the main dog he had while he was up there, and then when he rotated out, he went to the Philippines and then got a completely different dog. And I know that when he ended up in Elmendorf up in Alaska, he ended up being the kennel master up there, and I think that's what he retired from.
Oh, so you weren't in Alaska with him?
No.
Oh, okay. I was misunderstood. I thought you were up there with him. So,
Nope, just Grand Forks.
I was going to see if you ever did any snow machine
Nope.
racing
They call
up
it
there.
Snow machine.
You don't call them snowmobiles up there.
Yeah.
So how long were you two together at Grand Forks?
Probably about 2 years.
2 years.
Yep.
Wow. Lifelong friends after that. Then.
Yes. You know, an interesting thing is since we worked the same shift, we had the same days off. So since his folks lived in Elk Point and my folks lived in Rowena, we basically took off on our 3-day breaks. We'd basically get off shift at 6 o'clock in the morning, get back to the armory, turn everything in, go back to the barracks, change in the civvies, and take off, and then drive. At the time, it was an 8-hour drive from Grand Forks Air Force Base just to Sioux Falls because CBA limit was 55.
Right.
But yeah, it was some interesting conversations and interesting travels.
I had the feeling that Duane and Bill very seldom drove 55, no matter what.
No,
matter
Sammy
where.
Hagar did not come into effect for us at all. It was definitely, I can't drive 55.
Yeah, well, back when Bill and I were stationed in Grand Forks, he had I don't remember what year it was, but it was a Ford Courier pickup. It's a little 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder, but it had a huge topper on it. So you couldn't go very fast with that thing to begin with, but yeah, it wasn't even, I don't think it wasn't 4-wheel drive, it was just rear-wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I remember the thing did get good gas mileage.
That's what it's about when you're that far away.
Yeah. But that guy, he definitely knew how to drive. Because I remember at the time I had a 73 Chevy pickup, rear-wheel drive only. And we were camping and fishing at this little lake somewhere north of Grand Forks. And it kind of rained we camped out, and it rained during the night. So the road to get out of there was mud. So that being a rear-wheel drive, I got about halfway. It was a little bit of a hill, about like you see out Lake Lakota. About like that. And so I got about halfway up and I just couldn't get any farther. And so Bill had already made it out with his Courier, which was surprised the heck out of me. So he saw me struggling. So he comes down, walking down and said, "Here, let me give it a try." So he got in the thing and he manipulated the parking brake and the gas, and there was literally mud flinging up for 100 feet, but he got the thing up to the top of the hill, and I still to this day am amazed he was able to do that.
Did you do some hunting with him with that pickup? So I'm thinking of some photos I saw during one of the services.
That wasn't any hunting, not hunting per se, but we went out, I think it was like early May one time. We were looking, basically spotlighting for raccoons for one of the other canine handlers who was an avid trapper. And that was another adventure in itself because we started out at this guy's house and ended up loading up, oh my gosh, 4 or 5 gallons, milk jug gallons full of beer, and carted them with us on this venture. And it was the first week of May up there, and it was still snowing. It was snowing that night when we were out. We were forging across creeks and across mud and trees. Yeah, it was fun.
He liked it out in the wilderness like
yes.
that.
Yep. Yes.
Well, he got to hunt along that right along the Missouri River where they lived out by Roselle's at that time. So we'd start at his place and either go down to what was the pipeline. We called it the Rocket because it looked like a rocket taking off. But we'd hunt from there all the way up to the Rock Dock. So we did a lot of walking when we were younger.
Wow. Yeah. Now, did they used to live just off the interstate? Say you're headed south, take that exit on exit 18. I thought that the place isn't there anymore.
Yeah, they lived, where the interstate used to exit right on the north side of that, and their house was right off to the side. That was one of the, I think they had 4 houses that they lived in Elk Point.
Yeah, because that was a real short downhill
Yep.
exit from the interstate, and I've pulled a few people out of the snow from there because they just go right through the. Pretty dangerous actually,
Yeah.
but my wife gets tired of me saying that. I always repeat myself. So every time we take that exit and go down, and all there is some cottonwood stumps there now. The whole exit's been changed and all that stuff, and we come up because it does a curl around now. So it come
Yeah.
up when we stop, and we're sitting there right there. I always tell her, "That's where Bill Rodasky used to live." She goes, "I know."
The big cottonwood stumps, I think, are still there sitting around.
Yeah,
there.
they're just laying there. They just.
But yeah, that was a neat place. Well, they also lived by the elevator. And when they were building those new elevators, of course, what do you think the neighbor kids decided to do? Oh, we had to
Gary,
go up
close
the,
your ears.
It's okay. The statute of limitations has run out. So.
So they were putting these things up, and both towers were up, and they were doing the scaffolding and stuff on top. And if I remember right, there was a light on top. But it was everything I could do. I got up and I was on top of the first stuff. But Mark Hartsock or Larry Talbot, one of the two, were coming down the alley, and somebody decided to pitch a board off and see how long it'd take to hit the ground.
This is after they were all the
This
way
stuff,
up.
yeah, we're
Oh, my
on top
word.
of the elevator.
Those
Pitched
things
a
are
little
tall.
board off, and you should have seen the dust flying, and everybody said, "Oh, you could have killed me," you know. And then next thing you know, that person's up there with us too. So I suppose there was a half a dozen of us that climbed up that thing. And
Was that after it started leaning and they
Oh, no,
saved it
no.
by
I
pumping
think it-
underneath or
I
something?
think it started leaning when they were building it.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's one of the things that we decided that it was cool to do.
I couldn't do the heights alone.
If I had to do it on an outside one, this was in between the two elevators was a shaft that you could go up. So
yeah.
you could look down, but you weren't looking down as you were going up
Sure.
most of the time. But yeah, I think there's
was-
only, I don't even know if there's one of the homes that they lived in that's still standing. I think they've taken them all out. The one at the end of the block where I used to live, that's a duplex now. The one that they live by the elevator's got that as a parking lot. The one that you were talking about out by the interstate, that's leveled, that's
Yeah.
gone. So I can't remember the name of the people they rented from, but they were out by Roselle's out along the river.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be by Mike Roselle's.
Yep.
But
Wouldn't they always run the cars through the quarter south of town on that road? So that
oh
was like
yeah,
right
yeah,
down
that
his
was
alley
one of our
anyway?
playgrounds. We decided. Of course, I had a red '64 Plymouth and push button automatic.
I
and
remember that.
I still have the car, and I had to go out there and line up against that lighter, faster '67 Mustang, and always thought, well, I'll get him this time. But yeah, we had a lot of fun racing cars together, and
Yeah, they had the markings right on the tar there. Was that you guys who would always refresh those marks?
yeah, we
That
go
was
out,
you
with
guys?
we go out with some paint and decided to put a strip across there, and and I think we had one that was west of town too, out by Calciosi's. So we'd go out there and
Depending on where the law was, right, Terry? Go to the other one, the other spot.
I don't know. I remember Bill regaling with stories about running from the highway patrol or the Union County Sheriff's Office a time or two. So whether or not they were true stories or not, I don't know.
there was quite a few where we were on buildings. One night we decided that I think it was during the summer, we all had pop bottle rockets and a few the Roman candles, and I think it was Bill and Larry got up on top of. They didn't know about, or we didn't even think about alarms. We're on the top of old Frank Tepley's liquor store, and they're across the road on top of the bank, and all of a sudden we're shooting fireworks off at each other across the road. We thought that was pretty cool. And the alarms must have went off in the bank or something from them crawling around up there. There was law enforcement after us right away.
Yeah, it's a bank.
Yeah, that's a bank.
They have sensors even back then.
Yeah, you didn't think about that when you were a kid. You were just out there going, hey, let's have a good time and shoot some fireworks off.
Oh my gosh. So then Bill moved in your area about 15 years ago? Somewhere in there?
About that.
I always keep saying we got to know each other real well his last 12 years of life. Now, I don't remember the math that I did, but I know it's been 3 since he passed, so
Yeah.
probably somewhere near there.
Yeah, the first time I met Bill, well, the first time I seen him, he pulled up with a flatbed tow truck with what appeared to be a house full of shit on. I mean, they were just packed. And I'm looking out the window, I'm like, geez, this guy's a redneck. You know, plain and simple. Well, you know, they got all that unloaded. A few days later, I started talking to him. He was a redneck.
Take a look at that bracelet. It just gave you yuppie redneck racing.
Yeah, it didn't take long to be friends with him. I mean, he was easy to get along with.
Smart as a whip, too, though. I mean, people just looked up to him as the voice of reason. But he wouldn't let us know that so much. You had to learn that by observing and, you know, all that.
That redneck part brings up an interesting tidbit about, did you know that when he was up in Grand Forks, his nickname was Billy Bob? Yeah, I'll tell you how he got that nickname. So there was a staff sergeant who was a desk sergeant slash dispatcher slash supervisor. When he started talking with Bill, and he said, "Oh, you're from South Dakota. Oh, you must be a redneck." He said, "What's your name?" He said, "Bill." He says, "Bill? No, that doesn't work. You're a redneck. You got to be there's got to be a Bob." So it's Billy Bob. That's your name, Billy Bob. So
There we go. Oh, man. So what are some of the first things you guys did together? I know you had some traveling stories.
We did quite a bit of traveling, hunting. We never did get anything, but we always went hunting. Yeah, we went to Alaska a few times for bear. We're supposed to go to Florida hog hunting once. We got down to about Tennessee, and we had to detour to Louisiana because the land we had in Florida was flooded. And, of course, you know, we didn't see a damn thing. Nothing. But when we were driving home, my grandkids wanted a alligator head, you know, coming from Louisiana.
yeah,
So we talked to these people sitting on a porch. I mean, it was just like, old people sitting on a porch in their rocking chairs. We asked them where you could get alligator heads. They said, well, you go down by the rice paddies. Someone has rice paddies down that way, and hang a left. So we go down there. We turn in this driveway, and it's about a quarter-mile long, you know. We get to the opening, we see a trailer house with foil on the windows and a pit bull with a log chain sitting on the porch. And Bill looked at me and he said, well, I don't know about this. I said, well, you're the dog guy. Go talk to him.
Oh,
He said, I ain't getting out. So, and we had a trailer on the back, and it didn't take him long to get that spun around, you know. But, yeah.
So no alligator head then.
Well, we ended up going to a store. But on the drive down there, you know, if you ever rode with Bill, he's nuts. I mean, he drove fast. We got this trailer with 2 4-wheelers on the back, and we're buzzing down the interstate. And he thinks we're going to miss our exit. So he shoots over, and there was a semi behind us, and I swore that semi was taking half that trailer with it. But he got in there. Well, we take our exit. Of course, it's the wrong exit. The one we needed was farther down the road.
Nice.
So, so we end up going into Kansas City. And we were in kind of a dark neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, row houses, and Bill never stopped at a single light or stop sign. He just drove through. He says, I'm not stopping.
You brought up a semi, and that reminded me of one of my first rides in Bill's '67 Mustang. After school, he'd take me for a ride, and let's see what this thing will do. And going east out of Bell Point by the golf course there, it used to be like 55 right at the end of the golf course there, and you could take off and drive out of town. There was no development out there at that time. So we go past Olson's and we passed a bird grain truck, and he's on the wrong side of this 2-lane, and we're coming around this grain truck, and another one had exited from I-29 and was headed towards us, and I'm grabbing on the seat going, come on, Bill, get around this thing. And he goes, I'll make it, don't worry. And I swear it was about 5 feet between that other truck coming, and he zips in front of the other truck. I thought, see my life flash in front of me. I said, are you kidding me? But he made it. And like you said, there's sometimes when I wondered, I wasn't going to bring it up, but when I wondered, has he got all the screws screwed on tight enough yet?
On the car?
On the car and him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he liked to tell stories. There's one hunting story I liked, because he'd always go down to Nebraska City where his folks are, and he'd always, and he was gone, 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off, northern Alaska. So, Dora was alone a lot, and but they'd always do the hunting. And I don't know, maybe sometimes she'd go down, sometimes not. But I remember he's hunting with his dad, and he was going to take this long shot. Ken's like, you ain't going to hit him. There ain't no way you're going to hit him. Bill's like, yeah, I'm going to hit him. Then, so he takes the shot, and Ken goes, say you missed him. Bill looks up at him and said, bullet ain't there yet. Deer dropped over. I'm sure it didn't go as slowly as that, or maybe it was the story, but I love that story. Dad, the bullet's not there yet. They shot a lot of deer down there.
Yeah, that they did.
Did you any deer hunting with them, or
No.
is it mostly up north stuff?
Nope, most of our hunting was in Alaska.
And then you did the one when Jose went along with you.
Yep.
So you did like 2 or 3 with Bill before that?
I was on 2 with Bill. And then the third one, we were supposed to go. I had gotten hurt, so I wasn't working. And I told Bill about 2 months before we were supposed to leave, I told him, I'm going to have to cancel. I said, I can't justify spending that money when I'm not working. So then he paid me for my airfare, paid me back for that. And then it wasn't long after that is when he died.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we had divine intervention that I canceled because he wasn't going to be there anyhow,
Right.
But
Did you hunt with Lee Strout with him on those earlier trips?
the first one was with Lee. We get out, we're out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, in Prince William Sound, you don't see anybody out there. Before we were going, Bill said, well, we're going to be in the boat. It's a big boat, when we're hunting. It's like 12 foot long, and it's a blow-up boat.
Big.
I'm like, well, that's not really a big boat.
Well, it wasn't a canoe.
Not much bigger than one. But so we get out there, and the first day we were there, it was what's it called? We were just scouting. We were out scouting, see if we could see anything. And Lee has his GPS. And Bill says, you don't need that. I know where we're going. Bill says, we got to go that way. Lee says, the GPS says that way. Bill says, no, we're going that way. So that's the way we went. Well, pretty soon, tide went out. We have no water.
Oh, no.
We're beached. So we spent 13 hours trying to get back to the cabin, and it was the way the GPS told us to go.
Really?
Because, we could see the water. I mean, it was like here to the end of the hog house. Well, we're dragging this boat trying to catch it. I had just had back surgery. I was 6 months off of that. Lee just got a knee replaced. Bill had kidney stones. We're dragging this boat. Bill is still in it. He will not get out. So so I told Lee, I said, we got to stop, because Bill's doctor told him he had to take it easy. That's why he wasn't doing anything. I said, well, you need to get out of the boat so we can pull it. You can at least walk. But we spent the night out there, and I told Bill, I said, what about the bears? Oh, there ain't no bears out here. They don't come out this far. Okay, so we fall asleep in the boat. I wake up about 4:30 in the morning, and it was cold. My gosh, was it cold. I'm walking around, and I see this bear print. So I go back to the boat, and I look in there, and Bill and Lee are spooning, trying to keep warm.
Really?
So I wake Bill up, and I says, thought you said there wasn't bears out here. He looks at the print and says, that's just a little one. I said, well, that little one could kick the shit out of all of us. So, but it took us overnight. Finally, the tide came in, and we got a little closer, but then it went out again, and we ended up dragging the boat. We got into a foot of water. But, he couldn't power the boat, But that foot of water, you get out, you sink 2 feet. So it was a miserable first day.
Oh, man.
And I mean, all we had along, for snacks, because we weren't going to be out that long, Bill had a package of them animal cookies. He had to have them with him. And
A package.
3 of them bite-sized candy bars from the year before.
They were white already, right?
We ate them all. We ate everything. Well, we got back to camp and finally had a steak and went to sleep for a couple hours. But yeah, it was always an adventure with that guy.
Up at the memorial service in Alaska, they were telling more of the stories, but I think Lee was talking about it, like bags and bags of these animal crackers.
Yeah, when we went to Walmart, we spent $800 on food. 3 guys we were out for 10 days, but we had to get enough food for 14 in case the weather was bad and we couldn't get back. This ain't no joke. He had 7 packages of cookies. He brought a box of like 5 dozen eggs and a bunch of donuts, bags of candy. Because he told me, he says, well, I can't eat like this with Dora around. so when we went on our trips, he would stock up on that stuff.
That's the deal. We'll wonder how much new stuff Dora learns here.
She'll probably learn a lot.
That one, she probably knew that.
Yeah.
But every time, if we had to stop for gas, we had to get ice cream. Every gas stop. Because he couldn't do that at home.
His favorite meal was the chili dogs.
Yep.
I've eaten a lot of chili dogs before he left, but even more after he left us. Think of him every time I have a chili dog.
Yeah, the second time we went to Alaska, it was Bill, Jose, and I. And when the hunt went fairly well, we only seen one bear and didn't get any shots at it, but he wanted to extend the stay. Wanted to stay another extra couple days to see if we could get a bear. So he called the charter company and said, come 2 days later. Well, the cabin that we were staying in was rented out for the day we were supposed to leave. So now we're sitting out in the weather. Other people are in the cabin. I said, Bill, you might want to call that charter guy. So he called it, and he was able to come get us. So we only spent like 8 hours out in the rain.
In the rain.
In the rain.
Man. So when you're hunting bear up there, do you spend a lot of time in the boat, like going along the coastlines, or do you like get back in there more so?
We hunt the tides. When the tide comes in, we go out, and we're 100 yards from shore. There was only one time we got out when Lee was with us. I don't know what he was after, but we were walking, and it's like walking on a waterbed. The grass it's like a foot thick, and you just walk across it, and if you fall through, they ain't finding you. But so you know, there's a lot of fun things out there, but that one was scary.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real up there.
Yeah.
Did you guys hunt, Duane?
We did, but mostly just small game and then some pheasant. One time we did get into a pretty stout coyote hunt. Bill had the idea that I should go around by the river and he'd loop around and come in from the north. And the next thing you know, I got a shotgun with a slug in it. I mean, hunting a coyote with a shotgun and a slug. Come on. Anyways, I said, well, if something comes by me, I'll shoot it. Well, half hour later, here comes Bill. I could hear him coming, and then this coyote comes, and I'm getting ready to shoot it, and he says, do not shoot at that coyote. I'm going, well, God, we're coyote hunting. Why am I not supposed to shoot? Well, now I realize why he didn't want me to shoot, because he was coming through there, and I got a slug in my gun. Oh. But yeah, we had a lot of fun hunting most of the time. He'd make some type of plan. Like you said, it didn't always turn out the way it was supposed to, but we just went with the flow and we had a good time. And most of the time it was about being with each other. I mean, that's what the hunting's for anyway. I mean, you go out, you hopefully have a good hunt, but the most of it is spending time with each other and having an adventure. And every time you got around Bill, it was an adventure.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, like later on when we're done with this, we're all going to be thinking like, oh man, I forgot about that or that, you know. Did you hunt with him, Terry?
No, we went fishing a few times, but never any hunting other than the raccoon thing up in North Dakota. But
Lake fishing mostly, or
yeah,
just
yep.
lakes.
Yep, like some of the river or ponds, but I should throw in the chapter of how Bill and I ended up getting reacquainted again. Well, after I started working for the sheriff's office in 1998, his sister Mary was working up at the South Dakota Penitentiary, and she knew me from back in the Air Force days. And so one day I was up there bringing a prisoner in, and she saw me and said hi and told her I was working for the sheriff's office. And that was probably a year or so after that, I get this email from Bill Rodasky. Said, hey, I'm hoping this is the right Terry Anderson for the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, but I was just reaching out to let you know that I'm going to be moving into the T area. And it's like, wow. I mean, this was like, 10, 15 years at least.
Yeah.
After I got out of the Air Force. So. And then he got the house, well, where him and Dora were, and reestablished our friendship again and had some more good times.
So I think I met you. Was it a
Air show?
Well, we went to the air show, but I think before that, the big race in February, Daytona, or
Yes.
is that the big race in February? That's
Yes.
like their Super Bowl, but it's at the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. He had a Daytona party.
Yeah, it's like Super Bowl parties because it was only 2 weeks later or
Yep.
so.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we went there a few times for that.
Oh yeah, he was definitely a big race fanatic. I remember one of my favorite racing stories was, again, after he's back in South Dakota. It was a Sunday night, and Dora didn't want to go to the races, so he said, "Hey, do you want? I've got an extra ticket for Huset's, and you want to go with?" I said, "Sure, I got what's going on." So he came over and picked me up. We started heading to Brandon. Well, then Huset's got rained out. And so then Bill decides that he wants to go see a race somewhere. So they could figure it out. Was it Park Jefferson races on Sunday nights? Mm-hmm. So we end up going all the way down there and making it just, because we were watching the weather radar to make sure if we were going to drive all the way down to Jefferson that it wasn't going to get rained out. And thankfully the rain had actually gone farther north, so they didn't get any rain down there. But we ended up driving all the way down there just to see the races.
I went down there with him once, down to Park Jefferson, ate at that Mexican place in Elk Point.
Yep.
I think they've been going to close for years, but I think they did finally close. But well, we went in there, we feasted on Mexican and head down to Park Jefferson. That was a good time.
Yeah.
Did you do some of the races with him?
I went to a few of them. A lot of Husets. What's that one that's in Iowa?
Knoxville.
No, east of us, just east of us.
Jacksonville.
No,
Jackson.
Rock Rapids?
Rock Rapids.
There you go.
Went there a few times with him. When we did go to Park Jefferson one night, and then we went to that bull ring that's on the other side of the road.
Interstate Speedway.
Yes. And I tell you what,
With his radio voice there. He's an announcer.
the people that drive that track are nuts. And Bill was just loving it. I mean, that was his kind of racing.
We went to that growing up. We went over there quite a bit. We enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's just a small track, but there's a lot of action over
That's
there.
some door-to-door banging there.
Yep.
What do you always say? Rubbin's racing?
Yeah, Robin's racing.
You know, they would go to a lot of them. And that's the one thing, you know, Dora gave him. Even if she wasn't that interested, she still went to a lot of them with him, you know, for the man and wife togetherness stuff. But every once in a while, she'd bow out.
Well, I know that one night they were supposed to go to, I think it was Hartford, and it got rained out. They ended up in Watertown going to a race.
Oh, I remember Doris saying that. Yes.
She was. She was not happy with that one. But Bill got to see his races, so it didn't matter.
Was it Watertown or was it Huron?
It might have been Huron.
I
I
think
know
it was
it was a
Huron.
long
Yeah.
ways away.
Yeah, I bet it
for
was
a
Huron.
race. Yeah.
Now in high school, that car that had the eagle on the hood, that was a Chevy, wasn't it?
It was. And how do you go, and I still don't understand this, how do you go from a diehard Ford-loving Mustang man to a bow tie? But he did. And, I don't know whether it was something that Ken could work on that he really enjoyed with Bill or what the deal was. But for me, I was Mopar all the way. I was a diehard Mopar guy. So I had my 64 Plymouth, and I was not going to anything else. But he had that thing, and it was cool. It was a hand-painted eagle and mountain background on the hood, and it was a neat car.
Do you know of any existing pictures?
I don't.
that?
I don't. That'd be cool to find something like that. I don't know. We'll have to dig through. I know I don't have any of that car. I
Then it
wish
did get vandalized, didn't it, later in high school?
I think so. Yeah.
A big old peace sign or something with a quarter or something.
Yeah.
That's just dumb, stupid kids.
Well,
Rivalries.
right.
I'll blame for a million people.
And that's where I was going, but we're up there antagonizing more than likely, but not for something like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was
They can run you out of town, but they don't need to do that.
yeah. Well, we had a few high-speed runs back to Elk Point. From,
Yeah, we weren't car guys, but I remember me and Doug Taylor and a couple other buddies, Joe Larson, Steve Marr, whatever, got chased out of there. I don't know what we were doing. We were, you know.
probably nothing. It was probably something we did.
There's a hubcap somewhere by Burbank from an old Ford Torino station wagon or something like that. Oh, man. Yeah, we would just talk about the Chevy Ford thing. There's that, where you're going to go?
Well,
Go.
I went over to Bill's shop one day because this is about that Nova. I seen this blue Nova picture on the wall, and I said to him, I says, whose car is that? He says, that's mine. I said, wait here. I went home. I got photo albums from Thunder Valley full of pictures. I knew I had that car in there. So I grabbed a couple pictures that I had, took it back to him. Bill's in one of the pictures. And, you know, we didn't know each other back then, you know. But he's got an afro standing by his car. So I ended up giving him them pictures, you know.
Awesome.
And I don't know what he ever did with them, but I thought that was just kind of cool, you know. That was in 85, maybe.
Oh my! I think in '82.
It might have been a little bit before that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
In '81 or '82, I think Doug Kavanaugh and I got a letter from the principal so we could go and represent the high school at high school days. And Doug never did make it up there. I was the only one that made it that year. But yeah, we had a lot of, both of us wanted to race. I mean, we wanted to go up to Thunder Valley and race. And I'd finally done that once. And Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, Bill, he claimed to be this Ford guy. I think he did it just because we all gave him a blast of crap about it.
And he loved it.
Oh,
Absolutely loved it.
he dug that. That was good for him. Because I know he always said that if he could find the right 69 El Camino Super Sport big block 4-speed, he would sell his Mustang and get it. And we never did find the right one. But yeah, I truly believe he was a Chevy guy under all that Ford stuff.
Yeah, and see, when I was in the Air Force with him, it was Chevy this, Chevy that.
Really?
It was never.
See?
Oh,
See?
the truth is coming out.
Yeah.
then.
Yep.
We knew.
As a matter of fact, that to talk about the cars brings back another fond memory I had of Bill when we were up in Grand Forks. I had that '73 Chevy. Well, it had I think it was a rear main seal leak on it, and we had a base on the base up there. There was an auto shop that you could basically bring your stuff into and work on yourself, and they sold parts there. Well, since it was Air Force, it stayed open 24 hours. So this thing had got to the point where it was leaking about a quart every couple thousand miles. I mean, it had to be, the seal had to be replaced. So Bill said, "Yeah, we can do that." So we drove it up to the shop. We're just driving it in, and all of a sudden it started running really rough. I mean, just barely running. And so he said, "Oh, I guess there's something else we'll have to fix too." So we get it into the stall, and he started taking things apart, and all of a sudden found out that the timing gear had broke a tooth, and that's why it wasn't running. So we literally worked on that thing from, I think, 8 o'clock at night till 5 o'clock the next morning when it all got back together. But when it was done, ran like a dream, and there was no more oil leak.
Nice. Wasn't none of that.
No.
That's what I was expecting with the beginning of that story.
I know I needed to put a 4-speed in my Camaro. And Bill says, "We can do that. I've never done it, He says, "I can do that." I said, "Okay." So we took it over to his shop, and I said, "Are you sure you know what you're doing?" "Oh, we used to do this laying in the dirt." Okay. I still didn't quite believe him, but we got it in there, and it's spot on. Just beautifully. I was highly surprised because, Bill is a bullshitter. Let's be honest. But yeah, I didn't think he knew how to do it, but he did. I was impressed.
Most of the time we had to learn by actually doing it. When we were in high school, there wasn't a lot of funds out there. I mean, we were paying $50 for a motor in a junkyard, and I'm bringing them out, or I was anyway, and throw them in the car, and then we'd go to racing for the weekend and blow it up and go get another one the next weekend, I had a neighbor that lived across the road from me. He'd throw the tranny on his chest and pull it out while I pulled the motor out the top. We could change a motor and transmission in about 2 hours.
My word.
And yeah, it was but to your point, most of the time we had to do what we had to do to make them go, and there wasn't a lot of funds involved, so you learned by mistake.
Yeah.
So Bill did sports. I know he did track. I don't remember if he did cross country also.
I think he
or if
did
it was
once.
Mostly track. But he worked a lot after school, didn't he?
Yeah, and I can't even remember where.
Yeah. Because I remember talking to Larry Talbot. We were going to see if he could join us maybe by phone, but he's a real busy man. But that's one thing he portrayed to me on the phone just a couple weeks ago when I called him was the working so much after school that he kind of regrets some of that because he missed a lot of the school life and things like that. So I couldn't remember how much Bill worked after school.
Well, most of us worked at Curry's and did just about everything there was to do out there. I know I did. And we walked beans, this was before Roundup. So in the summer we'd walk beans or we'd detassel or we'd find some type of odd job. Of course, I had paper route until my high school years. And that was another way of scooping snow or mowing yards or selling garden seed to people, so we figured out ways to make some bucks to support what we were doing.
Yeah, because the summer you could do whatever you wanted, but during the school year, some of the guys were pretty busy after school. And some would hang out downtown at the Huddle too, play some pool.
Oh,
The Purple Eye, do you remember that place?
Yeah.
Down in the basement.
Yeah.
That was something.
Then there was a place that had pinball machines too by the old cafe. There was a room off to the side that had pinball machines.
The Western Cafe?
Yeah, the Western Cafe, right off to the side of that. We'd sit and throw quarters in them pinball machines.
Uh-huh.
So, wow, there was. But even in school, we learned quite a bit. We had a couple of years we got to co-op with Vermilion, so we'd ride a bus in the morning up there. And Bill, in his senior year, I know he did building and trades, and I don't remember what else he did, but Willie Seibel taught a class called building and trades up there. And I did the auto mechanics class my junior year, and then we had welding. And in my senior year, I did the building and trades. And what was neat about that was you got to design and build a house. So you got to design one on paper, and then Willie Seibel had you building one that he'd already had designed. So it was pretty neat to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, there's a few guys that bust over there and did that. I think you said Dennis McKelvey went there for a while.
I think Dennis McKelvey did. I know Mark Hartsock did. Mm-hmm. We had 2 or 3 other guys from our classes that went up there as well. And the gals had cooking classes and stuff that they could take up there too. So there was a bus full of us. Mary Ellen bussed us up there and put up with us. And she'd stop at Casey's so we could get some candy or whatever on the way home. So we had a great time.
Yeah, by marriage, my dad on the Shoup side of the house was related to Mary Ellen.
Oh.
Yeah. I think her mom was like my dad's sister.
She put in a lot of years at bus driving, and then after that, Kelly's coaches, and she did a lot of driving.
Uh-huh.
Kept us safe and, tried to put up with us for the most part, but she cracked the whip as well.
Yeah, with the Ford Chevy stuff, you're cluing us in on the Chevy stuff from, from way back. And then we were, Dan and I had been in the shop. He had a shop separate from the house there, and we were helping sell some stuff for Dora and all that. But as we're going through these boxes and stuff, and we were, I partook more than you did, I think, or at least it affected me more. His bottle of Captain Morgan, because we'd always have that here in the hog house, and but we would find little Chevy clues all over in that garage. I don't know if I kept any or not, but I bet if we went there later tonight, we'd probably find some more.
You found that box of glasses
Yeah.
that I got. It has Chevys on them. The Corvair, Corvette, Nova, Chevelle. Ford guy shouldn't have that. No.
We didn't find a Ford set
Nope,
or a Dodge
nope,
set.
just the Chevy set.
Oh, man.
Well, you were talking about racing here a little bit ago, and I was too. I was just thankful that I'd stopped in. I'd texted Bill a few times and said, I'm racing at Thunder Valley and doing pretty good. If you want to come, I'd sure enjoy having you up there. And he goes, yeah, I got commitments that I got to be gone for quite a bit of time. And then I'm back for a little while. We'll see if we can make that work. Well, I was pirating some fuel from the T airport when I could. And a guy finally told me, he says, I don't think I'm going to let you get any fuel up here. What are you doing with that? And I said, well, I'm racing with it. I'm not on the road with it, so it shouldn't be a problem. I knew what he was getting at. There's no tax on the airplane fuel. So I just said, well, I'm going to stop over and see Bill. And he just happened to be out in the front yard doing some landscaping. And I stopped in and said hi, and real thankful that I did. How many times we drive by people's places and we say, I'm not going to bother them. I'll just, I'll catch them next time by. Well, this wasn't that next time by, and I thank the Lord that I took the time to stop and see him.
Right. Was that within a year or so of his passing?
That was within about 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah, I know when he was in town, I'd come home from work at night, and before I could get out of the truck, he was in the middle of the road. Every night we'd meet in the middle of the road and we'd talk for a half hour, 45 minutes. And I mean, and that was every day.
Well, and this wasn't just a couple minute talk. I mean, when you stop to talk to Bill, you better have an hour.
Yeah. But then after he passed, I found myself sitting in the truck waiting for him to get to the center of the road. it took a long time to get over that one.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about air shows, honestly, it was the last time I saw Bill alive. It was what year was it, that air show in Sioux Falls?
That was probably, I don't know, 18-ish?
I want to say 2018. Anyhow, we'd made plans that, Dora and I and Bill, and my wife, we'd all go to the air show. We met up there, and we watched the performances, and I can still vividly remember Bill saying, he said, this is the first air show I've been to since I retired from the Air Force. And that had been, I don't know how many years. It's
Yeah.
like, wow.
So I was still working there, and I found you guys
Yep.
and sat there and watched some of it. We got good pictures with us together there.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, he just loved military through and
yes.
through.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then he we were going through the aircraft. We went through a C-17, and he said, "Oh yeah, spent many hours with my dog searching these things when they come in. Needed to have the search done for customs or whatever."
Now, with his love of dogs in the military, I guess I don't remember if he ever had dogs at home, in his house or outside, or maybe did in high school, but not since. I never did ask him that.
I don't remember him ever saying about if he had a family dog as a pet.
I know his mom had dogs.
Yeah. I don't think they had any pets, at least since he and Dora were together. But I
haven't
didn't know
seen
if
any over there.
if he did when he was single or not. Yeah. There's a gal that used to work in our shop. She was Canine Army too, so they found that commonality in the hog house here,
Sure.
striking up conversations that
Yep.
way as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough deal, and we're all feeling it now. We can kind of feel it going, kind of down there, but just so many memories. And when he passed, it was up in Alaska.
Yep.
And then your wife headed up there with his folks and Dora.
Yep.
And then his sister married messaged me on that was on a Monday, and messaged me Tuesday morning. She's like, I don't want you to find out any other way, and she told me that, and I was on my way to work and stuff, and it's like I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it at all. Couldn't hardly get through that day, and then I was talking to Mary here and there, and I didn't know that you guys were trying to get some plans going for you to get up there, and then
Well, Lynette asked me if I wanted to go, and I said, well, no. My only reason for going to Alaska is Bill. I don't need to go up there. He's not, yes, he's there, but he's not there. And so I was good with that. Well, then I heard that Dora was going to have him cremated to bring him home. And I said, I can't do that. I'll have, I have to see him. I thought she'd bring him home. So then we jumped on some crazy flight. And
yeah, because it was I don't know if it was probably Tuesday. It was Wednesday afternoon, maybe, I think, and I just finally looked at Mary, and I just said, I gotta go. I can't stay here. I can't stand this. And then that's when we kind of hooked up, and your kids were trying to get you something scheduled and stuff. So we just got on the same plane and blew up there, and had the open casket service up there. So she had multiple services, which is kind of cool. But the stories that we heard up there with Lee Stroud, and I can't even begin to start naming all the people. People come out of the woodwork up there, and yeah, it was quite a deal. And so I was in uniform, and I was standing at the back. I just kind of feel like you're guarding the place for them, and there, and then they're having people go up and say a few words, and I thought I was strong enough to do it, and I got up there and I couldn't hardly talk, and chief in the Air Force, and you're like, little embarrassed, but on the other hand, don't give a crap at all. It was that's how genuine he was. He just got those kinds of feelings out of you
absolutely.
and stuff. And then and then I was just feeling out of sorts and stuff, and I volunteered to help fold the flag. Totally screwed that up. You know, because his other Air Force buddy, the guy that made he got the pictures and had the Dan Morgan was up there. So he and I were going to fold it, and I knew I was kind of feeling out of sorts and stuff. So I thought, well, I didn't want to be the guy folding, you know, starting on the red side because I'd probably lose it. So I was like, well, I'll take the blue side. He goes, you go on blue side? You bet. Well, did I pay attention to it's only half and you got to fold it just right? No, we had all red and white on the outside. It was my fault. So we got it refolded. So she got it presented to her twice. The guy at the nursing home, funeral home. Felt like I was in a nursing home there. And so we got it folded up right and proper the way Bill needed to have it and stuff. So, but I'm with Dan. You got to have some closure.
Oh, yeah.
You got to have some closure, you know. It doesn't sound or feel morbid or anything like that, but I had another friend that passed away in the early 50s just the year before, wife of a friend of mine, and we never did get to see her, and it just you see pictures and it just doesn't seem real, you know. But then it was nice that she had the service down here, in the middle of COVID, couldn't get death certificates. It was a mess for a long time. So she suffered a little longer than most people do for that.
And I think when it really hit home for me was the ceremony out at the Veterans Cemetery, you know, when we did the honor guard detail for them.
Yeah, I remember you did that. Yeah,
That was cool.
And I got through taps in the volley, but when I was tasked with bringing Dora and presenting the rounds,
yeah, that's
that was
really tough.
It was
Really tough. Yeah, and you were there when Duane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we waited for a while for the cemetery itself too, because they were, I don't know if they were opening late because of COVID or what, but when they did finally set a date to have it, because we had the open casket in Alaska, then we had the funeral service here, but then the burial was a third deal. But then Dan got to have a little fun. I see him starting to smile here because we got it on video. It's the only time he was going to drive a hot rod Ford, and he was burning rubber both times with Dora in the car.
It was
right
her
in front
idea.
Of the place. It was her
She
idea.
said, do it. And I said, okay. So we let it rip.
Awesome.
Nice smoke show. Then we went around the block, and we're coming back. It's just, do it again. Okay, so we did it again. And this time, we went a little too far. It needs tires.
Look at all that. Yeah, she was debating that point with the money here and there, but for the memory thing, she's like, do it.
that brings up another memory of when Bill met one of my coworkers when he was driving that Mustang. He was him and Dora were going to Sioux Falls for something, and he wasn't paying attention, and he was literally flying. He must be going 90 to 100 miles an hour. All of a sudden, it's now Sergeant Barcher. Back then, he was a deputy. Gets him on radar going that fast. And Bill said as soon as he turned around and saw the lights come on, he just coasted and stopped. He said he knew he was had. And that was late enough in time that the guys at the sheriff's office had known that I talked about my old Air Force buddy Bill, and they knew that he lived outside of T. And when Deputy Barcher got up and saw the driver's license and said, well, look, he said, tell you what, just, take it easy, because next time I'm going to write you for sure. And Bill goes, absolutely, I am so sorry. Tell Terry I said hi.
Did you ever have any times that the speed just kind of got a hold of you there, Duane?
Oh, I can't count how many times.
Yeah, dumb question, right?
Yeah, right.
Of course, he's a Mopar guy. I mean, you can't keep the speed limit.
That's right. He drove in with a Dodge. They were hooking up right off
yeah.
the bat there. I had to hang outside for a minute there.
Well, I evened the score out there.
Did you?
2 Chevy trucks.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
No Fords out there. Go figure. No offense. I don't know if Dennis McKelvey sees this. He's a Ford guy. He said you only buy a Chevy if you want to look pretty going to the dance. He goes. Pickups mostly. You know? Oh man, what a deal. Yeah. Yeah.
One night, someone was knocking on Bill and Dora's door. I mean, it was like 11:30 at night. Dora calls and says, "Do you see anyone outside knocking on our door?" "No, we don't see anybody." So we decided we were going to get together in the driveway and, talk this out. Well, Bill brings out this shotgun. I don't think it actually worked, but he brought it out. We're kind of talking and looking around, and Bill clicks it a couple times, and we look around in the ditch, and there's 3 kids sitting down there. And of course, their car broke down, and they were just walking by, and well, Bill scared the living shit out of them with that gun. So, I mean, this went on for 10 minutes or so, and then Bill told him, get the hell out of here, And then he says, "I better go call Terry." if they get a call, it's just me.
I think Dora was like in their face, taking pictures with the phone
taking
and all
pictures.
that. Just trying to scare them straight a little bit.
My wife, when Bill brought the gun out, she says, "I'm gone." She went back in the house.
Bill was probably having memories of us running around when we were younger. That was one of our favorite things, to go knock on somebody's door and then go hide in the garden or something behind there and watch them look for us.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, I know there's probably plenty more we can come up with. Takes a little time, as it goes. But you guys got any more stories you want to pass on? Like we said, we're doing this, for family, for Dora, for friends. Might put it on my 1982 class website thing we got, kind of deal. There's some of those friends that came to the service as well in Sioux Falls there. But yeah, well, I've got a way to end this. I wasn't sure how far we're going to go, but I made sure I let you guys know there's no time limit at the beginning. But we seem to be getting towards the sentimental portion of the deal here. So with our headphones and all that, we can't stand up, but I think we're just going to end this with a moment of silence. We can take our hats off, leave your headsets on, because we just have a little thing here to play for Bill, and then we'll wrap it up. There's our moment for Bill. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
This
It was
was
a
a lot of
privilege.
fun. We know there's going to be a lot more stories we're going to be telling, as time goes on, and as you see other people from Elk Point and stuff. But we just had this thought, the 4 of us, just to kind of get together and do this. And like I said, I don't know if we'll broadcast it, later. If we did, I'll get everybody's permission. But the main thing is just family and friends that we all thought the world of Bill, and we still do. And we will see him again.
Man.
All right.
Amen.
Take care, fellas.
Yep.